Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Throughout our updates, we've been talking extensively about what happens when Bitcoin breaks out of descending resistance and makes the next leg up going to 40 and 50K. Now Bitcoin is finally broken out. We've successfully retested 25K for over the 5th time, and now comes the time where we're finally going to be getting that next breakout. For today's video, I'm going to be breaking down my favorite altcoin setups, looking at the biggest leaders inside of the market so you guys know exactly what to expect moving forward over the next couple weeks so that we can ultimately maximize on this coming breakout, because I'm telling you guys right now, it's about to be a big one. So make sure you stay all the way to the end because I don't want you to miss out on any of this exciting information. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video. I did want to quickly give you guys a little update. I got offered an extremely high paying job working for my friend inside of the oil field. He runs a staffing company. We basically get people jobs working inside of some of these sites. Oil's picking up. The entire market is booming, so he offered me a really good high-paying position. So that's kind of where I was at for the last week. I was just basically training, trying to understand some of the basics. But the cool thing about this job is I'm actually going to continue to be able to upload on YouTube. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even taken it. So it's just another source of revenue for me to be able to put back into the market. I really wanted to be able to do that while the market is low throughout the next year. It's the prime opportunity to be accumulating, waiting for 2024 and 2025. But really, guys, everything we're doing now is focused on 2025. Once Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, that's where the majority of our profit comes in. So I'm always constantly scheming on how the heck I can get another source of revenue to be able to put back into the markets while we're still significantly below those all-time highs. So I just wanted to give you guys that update. I am working in the oil field. I am going to continue to be able to upload. It's just that I had to work out some kinks, figure out, how I actually fit into this role. So now that we're here, I'm back. I wanted to give you guys this update, so let's jump right into it. Now, guys, what we talked extensively about recently has been this mid-range point and this descending resistance. Now, at the last video, we were all the way up here, and I told you guys how most likely we were going to reject and then come back down to this mid-range. We corrected right off of descending resistance, and we've successfully retested it and have gotten the breakout. So the bullish case scenario has played out identically, exactly what I wanted to see for us to actually get the next leg up. So now, as it stands, guys, we have spent a significant period of time ranging, on top of support of 25K. If we're looking at the point of which we finally actually flip this level, we're basically going to be looking at almost 200 days worth of accumulation that we spent on top of support of 25K. So the fact that we're finally breaking out of this short-term descending resistance, in my opinion, this is going to be spelling the next leg up in the cycle. Now, even though we kind of did this once already, we broke out, we retested, we broke out again, and then we retested it again. All of this is just an extended period of accumulation. I don't believe that it changes anything, and I'm not necessarily anticipating that we're going to come up and then we're going to do the exact same thing over again. To me, when I'm looking at this consolidation, it looks very much like a wave 4 correction. So basically what I mean by that, wave 1 was down here right after the FTX collapse. Wave 3 was this entire run up to 31,500. And then wave 4 has been this entire consolidation right here. And I do believe that we just ended wave 4 with our most recent attempt at a breakdown, or what I should say, a retest of our last 25K zone. So now comes our final wave 5 of this impulse. And this is really where I've always continued to stick to my analysis that once we flipped 25K, we were going to 40 and 50,000, and I still firmly believe that. My primary target is 48.5K, which is basically the top of this lower high, and I've been drawing that literally since all the way back down in here, since we first started beginning this impulse. Really, inside of this first impulse here, and then this correction, I was talking about how the second we break up and get above 25K, that's going to be the support before we get that final move all the way up to 40 and 50K. 40K is there, 50K is right here. So nothing has changed. The only difference is it's taken, 200 days worth of consolidation on top of this level before we've gotten any sort of significant move. Now, we're finally breaking out of our secondary descending resistance. And when I'm looking at this consolidation, I do believe that this entire 200-day range is simply just a wave 4. Now, inside of Elliott wave theory, one of the most key things that you guys can understand is how the waves are actually going to correct and how they're going to hold support. Now, inside of this sort of correction, we can see from Fibonacci, we only came down and retested the 382. Now, one of the things that you're going to oftentimes see is a market coming into the 618 range and potentially even down to the 786 and sometimes even the 88.3. But generally speaking, what we're going to see inside of a wave 4 correction is the shortest correction because of the fact wave 3 is generally going to be the biggest Elliott wave impulse, and it doesn't have to be necessarily the biggest, but the most volume and the biggest ROI oftentimes comes inside of that impulse. And so we can see wave 1 was just this small beginning stage of the impulse. Wave 3 was this great big move that took us past 25K. In fact, we went all the way up to about $31,200. Now, wave 4, for us to only be coming down to the 382, a lot of people I've actually seen, and have also been messaging me saying, 382, that's not a very big correction. We should be going down to the 618. And while the 618 is often referenced, and while the 618 is known as the golden pocket, the golden ratio, it's oftentimes where we do see markets bottom. Inside of a wave 4, because of the fact wave 3 is the biggest Elliott wave impulse, wave 4 can be the shortest correction because there's still so much buying support, right? So wave 1 starts the impulse. Wave 2 will oftentimes correct almost the entirety of that first impulse. That's where you're going to see the market sell off to the 786 to the 88.3. It's oftentimes after the first impulse. And so when we're seeing a wave 4s generally will hold higher support. Sometimes they can come all the way down to the 618. But inside of a very bullish market, you're going to see that wave 4 hold better support. So to see our Elliott waves lining up in this same sort of way, to me it gives confidence that we are still going to be seeing one more final impulse to come to complete this first Elliott wave cycle. So the fact that we've broken out of this secondary descending resistance, in my opinion, is the early sign that we're about to be making that next leg up. And this is kind of where my analysis throughout the entirety of this run up has continued to stick. I've been very adamant about saying once we get on top of support of 25K, that was going to give us the liftoff that we need to get upwards of 40 and 50K. Now we've successfully retested 25K a number of different times, and for us to be breaking out of this secondary descending resistance, in my opinion, that's the confirmation that we needed that we're going to be getting that next leg up. Now, another chart that we've been talking a lot about has been Ethereum. Now, inside of Ethereum, we've had better and easier to identify Elliott wave structure. And this is what's been telling me that Bitcoin could actually hold 25K and break out, was the fact that ETH looks like a standard 5 waves up, followed by your classic ABC correction back down. In the last video, we were right here, rejecting off of descending resistance, and I was saying how most likely this was going to end up making a lower low, and we would probably end up coming back down to retest this ascending support for one last time. However, ETH ended up making this little higher high in here. That was just a short-term wave 2 correction, and I do believe that we're inside of either a wave 3 or we're currently working on a wave 4 correction before we're most likely going to be running upwards of about $18,500. So when we're looking at this, this is a very important move for Ethereum because we've successfully cleared our descending resistance. Now, what I was drawing was either the bottom of wave C was here or we needed one more lower low. And all of that was riding around whether Bitcoin was going to hold the mid-range point. The fact that Bitcoin successfully retested the mid-range and is broken out of descending resistance, that gave ETH the boost that it needed to come back up and retest 17.5. So the fact that we're here, that is all the confirmation that we needed. I was waiting for us to break out of this descending resistance to prove whether the ABC was done here or whether we needed one more lower low. So the fact that we're outside, we've successfully came back up to the range high at 17.5. I think that this is all the confirmation that we need for the next leg up. So when we're looking at this consolidation, in my opinion, we're looking at something like this. It's still your classic ascending triangle. And I do believe that the next leg up coming is where we're going to finally be able to clear the range highs. So all we're doing inside of this 500-day range has been us coiling and building a solid foundation of support before, in my opinion, what happens next when we can break out, retest the range highs, that's where we're going to get that final leg up, upwards of 3,500. I believe Bitcoin is going to be running to 48,500 or 50K. It's just the top of this lower high right here. And I do believe the ETH is going to be doing the same thing. I don't know all of the other altcoins. Generally speaking, when Bitcoin first makes its big breakout to begin a new cycle, most of the altcoins are going to underperform in the same way that they kind of have up to this point. There will be a select few altcoins that actually outperform. Those are the outliers that we want to be paying attention to going into the next cycle. And so even if we miss out on some of these early outliers, the ones that end up outperforming the most, we got to keep in mind that, in the last cycle, Chainlink really kicked off the last bull run. Now, it was all throughout this time. Chainlink was kind of rounding out. Let's go to a smaller time frame so it's a little easier to see. Chainlink was just making this big rounded bottom. And then once Bitcoin made that run to 14K, which would be this move here. Remember, we had the bear market, we rounded out here, and then Bitcoin made its first breakout into the cycle. This is where Bitcoin peaked at 14K, and then we went through another 400 to 500 days of consolidation. And it was actually inside of that breakout that Chainlink went into new all-time highs. So this was the move to 14K for Chainlink. So the outliers of this cycle are going to outperform. We should expect to see certain altcoins actually make new all-time highs. The ones that are significantly undervalued in comparison, the ones that are going to be, big-time cryptos going into this bull run, you're going to see those ones kind of leading the way. So, one of the reasons why I invested so much and got really bullish into Chainlink was the fact that Chainlink made this big run up with Bitcoin, broke out of its all-time high, and then it was successfully retesting its all-time highest support. We had 3 different retests of that support before we ever started breaking out. And if we're looking at the total amount of time that Chainlink spent from the breakout to the point of us going, it was about 300 days. So Chainlink spent almost an entire year consolidating on top of those all-time highs before, running back up into even more new all-time highs moving forward into that cycle. So I'm going to be looking for the same sort of things. The only difference with the last cycle was it was a little bit smaller than prior cycles had been. If you were here for 2016 and 2017, you would know the last cycle was pretty dang small and it wasn't nearly as profitable as what many expected, including myself. So with this cycle, with us having more adoption, with us not having a pandemic, with more catalysts than ever before, I genuinely believe that this cycle is going to mimic a lot more how 2017 actually behaved. And so when we're looking at all of these cycles, we're at the very last point before we're going to be breaking out. So that's really why I wanted to jump into the oil field. I see so much value going into this cycle, not just with crypto, but commodities as well. Uranium is one of the best investments I've ever personally seen aside from crypto. Oil is another huge market that I see taking off in a massive way. The gold and silver markets, miners, junior miners, all of that stuff are huge opportunities going over the next 5 to 10 years. And who knows if it lasts a true 10 years, but my guess is it will, because we've had record inflation. Anytime we have record inflation, we always see a commodity bull run. And I do believe that that's going to be the case. And so crypto is kind of a unique asset class, but it fits inside of all of those commodities. And so what we're seeing with crypto is basically us at the very end of the bear market bottom, or what I should say, basically just our first bottom, the support floor before we start the next cycle. I believe that we're at the last stages of that before we start getting significant markup. And don't get me wrong, guys, even if ETH breaks out, we make a big run up here to the top of this lower high, I still think we're going to see some type of correction back down. We'll probably come back down relatively close to, the breakout point here. It's hard to say exactly where, but don't be caught off guard if we see a 20 to 40% correction after this coming leg up. And that's just the way that the markets are going to work. I'm not anticipating us to be in price discovery until probably sometime at the end of 2024 and even into 2025, because that's been the case throughout all of our cycles. It takes a significant period of time before Bitcoin and the altcoins flip all-time highs. But once they do that, that's where all of our profit comes in. And so I've been trying and scheming for as many opportunities as I can to be able to get more money into the market. And so the fact that I'm actually able to get this position and continue to upload, to me, that's, the most important thing. I wouldn't take any sort of job or work for anybody unless I knew that I could continue to upload on YouTube. I just had to figure some of those things out in the short term. So I did want to give you guys that update. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what we're seeing here for Bitcoin. We've broken out, we've retested all of our important levels. ETH is now sitting on ascending support. I do believe that this is about to make its next leg up. When we're talking about Chainlink, we're literally in the exact same sort of situation where we have this entire range that we've been spending for over 500 days at this point. I do believe that this is the final point before we start actually flipping these as support. And once these actually get flipped as support, don't be caught off guard if we see Chainlink and many of these other markets, taking significant moves outside of their support floors. A lot of people are going to be missing out on buying the exact bear market bottom. And, that's just the way it's always going to be. A lot of people are looking at this range and they're saying, well, this is what's going to happen before we break down and make a new low. So they're not buying at all. And they're not going to be buying until after we start breaking out. So just remember, guys, that if your focus is the end of the year 2025, if your focus is holding the length of this trend, you're not going to get a better opportunity of being able to get in early, get into a position that you can feel comfortable just holding throughout the ups and the downs than you are buying right now. And that's where I'm at. I'm trying to put as much money back into the markets as I possibly can. We've successfully done everything that we need to inside of this market. This next leg up, in my opinion, will be the most profitable one for altcoins because Bitcoin's really been outperforming throughout this entirety of this move. But if we're looking at, the last cycle and some of the similarities that we're actually seeing here, in my opinion, it's almost the exact same thing. And we talked a lot about this in the last few videos where we started breaking out. We made this kind of head and shoulder looking thing. But this is what happened right before that final blow off top. A lot of people were drawing this as a head and shoulder. We obviously didn't do that. We went for one more final high, and it was inside of this final high that we finally actually saw altcoins outperform Bitcoin. So Bitcoin outperformed throughout here, here, and then at that final leg up inside of this first impulse, that's where we finally started to see altcoins taking off. And so in this cycle, I won't be surprised if it's very similar because we're already seeing almost the exact same market structure. Let me remove some of these drawing tools so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about here. This kind of head and shoulder looking thing, a lot of people have been drawing this as that before we see this big correction. In my opinion, this is just kind of the same move where it looks like a head and shoulder top. It won't be because we're going to get that final breakout, that final impulse to complete our very first impulse of this cycle. And then from there, guys, don't be caught off guard if we do, a lengthy consolidation, something like that. And we're not doing anything until mid-2024 again. That's just the way Bitcoin is going to move. It's a very volatile market, and we've been in a sustained uptrend throughout the entirety of this move. So I'm kind of watching for something along those lines. Don't be caught off guard, during this breakout, and then especially if we get this next breakout, I really would refrain from buying inside of that move because the buying opportunity has been throughout this range low, throughout the retest of 25K. And so once this next leg up starts, we're going to want to do our part by just simply holding or taking profits on stuff because, like I said, guys, a lot of these are going to be making a significant move. If ETH doubles in value, goes from 1,500 to 3,500, that's a huge move. That's a decent move to take a little bit of profit on, especially if we're going to see a decent correction on the way down, because we can take some of that profit, we can go back into the market, and we can compound those positions. We don't have to nail the exact top. We don't have to nail the exact bottom. If you guys just feel more comfortable holding, more power to you. I think that at the end of the day, you have to know your own strengths and weaknesses. And if you feel more comfortable holding, getting past those all-time highs, not trying to mess around with it too much while we're still at these relatively low values, I think that that's a great, I still think that that's a great idea long-term, especially for the majority of people that don't really trade, don't really know how to trade, or don't understand a lot of, some of these things that I'm talking about in my videos. I think that's, the best opportunity that the average person has is simply just to hold the length of the trend. But my main reason for talking about this stuff is the fact that if you haven't been buying, you're really going to miss out on the great opportunities. The biggest returns of the market cycle are made by buying at the range lows. And we've already, surpassed the range lows. We've maintained higher highs and higher lows for months and months at this point, almost an entire year. We're getting close to the end of the year. And so for me, I've got all the confirmation that I need. I've seen all of the confirmation in my personal trading plan. Now comes that next leg up in the cycle. And so I just wanted to give you guys this update, tell you guys a little bit about where I've been. Expect frequent updates. I'm not actually going to be out in the field anytime soon. I'm going to be working from home as is. So anytime I am in the field, I'm still going to be actually, uploading videos. I shouldn't have to be out there all that much. It just kind of depends with, the staffing company. If we need guys, if I have to show guys how to work the job, whatever it is, I'm going to be out there. So I did want to give you guys this update. If you found value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you guys want to actually join my Discord server, see what I'm investing in, what altcoins I'm really big on going into this next bull run, links are in the description. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you guys so much for the support. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.